what's going on, everyone? Welcome to Wednesday. Welcome to just kind of a casual, kicked back Wednesday where we just sort of put our feet up and we don't worry about too much, guys. It is good to see you. It's good to be seen by you. And the person who is good about doing the seeing is me, Bill Sylvie, aka the Dungeon Delver, delving dungeons since 2000. How are you, guys? So today, everything kind of went off the rails today. No, my car did not break down. It was my dog. It was Zeus. A simple, regular checkup to the vet ended up being kind of costly, actually. And it just kind of knocked me back on my heels and put me kind of out of the mind of doing the show. But I thought, hey, it'll be fine because Kyle will lead. I will just hum the music and let him spin us around the dance floor. And then as it happens, my co-host Kyle, the plague has moved in on them. So send all your thoughts and good wishes to Kyle. Hey, old Robert. So it's been a day. I had intended to get, guess what? A new episode of Tales of Tabletop Triumph was supposed to go up today, but in the back and forth dealing with everything, it didn't. So I hope to take tomorrow to edit, but not tomorrow night. Why not tomorrow night? Why not do it tomorrow night, Bill? You might ask. Hello, Trace Richards. And the reason not tomorrow night is because, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow night, Errol Otis will be live on the program. Not a pre-recorded interview, unless you're watching it at some point in the future after the live stream. Errol Otis will be here. At 7 o'clock Eastern, we will have the man, the artistic legend, Errol Otis, live on this show. And I hope you guys are ready. I hope you have all your questions ready to ask Errol about the history of Dungeons and Dragons art. All the stuff he did before, all the stuff he did during, all the stuff he did after, and all the stuff he's doing now. Because that's like, I mean, you know, this let me tell you something about Errol being here tomorrow. This has literally been 3 years in the making. When I first started doing these live stream, I should get Errol to sketch me. Yeah. When I first started doing these live streams, I reached out to people I was friends with on Facebook to be guests. And yes, I weighted very heavily on the folks who, created Dungeons and Dragons. Because the first person I ever interviewed for any kind of media was Gary, and I have that recording, and those of you who have heard it, you know how awesome it is. Those of you who haven't, I'll play it again sometime. I'll get back around to Zeus in a few minutes, Connect. Anyway, so Errol was somebody who I reached out to and said, can I please interview? And in the words of Agent 86, Maxwell Smart, as played by Don Adams, the late great Don Adams, missed it by that much. Because he had just done a live stream with another creator. And if I'm being 100% honest with you, I am glad it waited till now, because at that time in the spring, almost exactly 3 years ago, I had a viewership on Facebook in the ones. Now, I have always said, I have always been crystal clear. I would do this live stream show if one person was watching. If there was one person out there who was like, I need human contact, and it's you, your live stream keeps me, going. Like a bowl of Raisin Bran, I would do it. It's not about the viewer count. Although I should point out, we crossed the mark today, 4,600 subscribers. Thank you all very much. I think that calls for a little bit of confetti. But the thing is, yay! The thing is, I would do it for you guys, regardless if there was one or two of you. But with that said, I am glad that it can reach more people rather than people over time have to try and dig through the mess. Like, have you ever found part of a tweet thread or something that somebody posted and they quoted, and it's not for trolling purposes. They're like, oh, Bill Sylvie said that first edition AD&D is the best D&D ever. And he's got a Gary Gygax quote right after that, but I can't read it. I'll go to his Twitter and I'll find it. Well, it's next to impossible, and it's twice so for Facebook. So if I had done a long form interview with Errol that spring, it would be almost impossible for me to find and then try and download and then re-upload. And it would have been technically, more technically inept than my videos usually are. So that it's happening now is actually a good thing, because I'm gonna reach a lot more people on YouTube, and you guys can share it, and I hope you do share it, and folks can come back to it, and YouTube will occasionally put it up. So it all converges exactly when it has to, and I'm extremely excited about this. And there's other folks that I want to have. I want to have Darlene back on the show. I would love to have Dave S. LaForce come on the show. I'm going to talk to them and see if they would be interested in coming on the show. I'm pretty hyped about that. And of course, all the other guests we have, whether they're TSR luminaries, whether they're just people I like, who've got something to say about role-playing games. I just like having guests on the show. Kyle's my co-host now. Well, not right now. He's at home tending to his sick family. But he started as a guest. I was just like, yeah, you should come back on, and he came back on the show. So you never know what's going to happen when you got a good guest on the show. And Errol coming on the show tomorrow is just spiffy. I'm excited about it. I hope you're excited about it. I feel like there's going to be a lot to talk about. We have an hour. I asked him, and he was polite enough to give me an hour of his time. So, I will ask that, if you've got I really, really want to know the answer to this question more than anything. There are methods, that'll kind of bump that question up. I'll leave that to you. So that's tomorrow night. That's Errol Otis. Friday night, we'll be back with some preamble ramble. I'm not prepared tonight, guys, to do a proper read through of N1. I'm not in a good headspace. I'm glad today happened today. Death Angels, it's at 7:00 Eastern Standard Time. That's 6 in the Midwest, and I'm sorry, that's 6 Central and 4 out on the West Coast. But yeah, it's not the usual 8:30, 8:25, 9 o'clock. So I don't want you to miss it. I'm going to spam the hell out of it tomorrow. I'm going to let everybody know. So don't miss out. Now, as far as Zeus goes, Zeus is like a 1960s or 1970s Mercedes-Benz turbo 2-door convertible coupe. Absolutely gorgeous. Everyone stops and looks. Everyone thinks it's beautiful, and it is. Runs like a Swiss watch. If it breaks down, it's gonna cost me an arm and a leg. Took Zeus to the took Zeus for just his annual today. It just started out as his annual. And I used to get real jumpy when I would get calls from the vets when I would take my dogs. I had 2 labs before Zeus, Onyx and Lulu. And I get real jumpy. Like, I take the dog, I drop the dog off, I come home, I sit around for 20 minutes, the phone rings, it's the vet, right? That's always an expensive phone ring. That's always a worrying phone ring. But they're like, oh, he's doing okay. Blah, 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 blah. We think, you may have infected ears. So we're going to, do you want us to check that out? That's an extra blah. And I'm like, all right, do that. And then they come back and they're like, oh yeah, they're infected and it's a da 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 da, and it's going to cause this blah 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 blah. So they start, the charges racked up. So, yeah, it just, it's forever a scramble around here, guys. I get knocked down, but I get up again. Then I get knocked down again. So I had a lot on my plate today, and we have 1.5 cars. Now, the Saturn goes like a Swiss watch, right? But right now, I mean, it's on like 167,000, and it probably needs a new water pump and a new timing belt because it's never had those things done. So we drive it as less as possible. So I had to wait for the missus to get home from the office and then go get Zeus. You see where things have gotten a little hectic. Things have gone a little off the rails. So after taking him to the vet this morning and having a bunch of back and forth with the vets, I just kind of crashed. Late last night, my youngest, she comes out in the living room. I'm getting ready to watch some Avatar: The Last Airbender. We're down to like the last 4 or 8 episodes of the last season. I've seen it plenty of times before. No, Zeus is a Labrador. Zeus is a Labrador. And Zeus will be the last Labrador that I ever own. He will be, he'll be the last pet that I have. No more doggies after Zeus. No more pets after Zeus. He's the last. Anyway, so yeah, it's like midnight. I'm getting ready to watch Atla. My youngest comes out of her room. She's crying her eyes out. And I'm not gonna go. It's kind of a dark avenue. Suffice to say, I hate the internet, and I wish I could, you know, there's parts of it I wish I could destroy. Let me just say that. Hey, Patty, thank you. Love to Patty's Parlor. Everybody subscribe to Patty's Parlor. Do that. Find him on YouTube. Subscribe to his channel. So he's a black lab. He's a black lab. So anyway, you know, family drama and life drama, and it just knocked me just enough out of skew that the things I wanted to do show-wise today didn't happen. I'm glad it is happening today so that tomorrow the time that I spend with Errol will be positive. So I'm, you know, I'm just kind of staying with it. I started this week with the intent ready to knock out 3 manuscripts, 2 actual content videos for the show, get ready for Errol, clean up around the studio, and get ready to paint some miniatures. I have got some mental cleansing creative writing done, and that's about it. So it hasn't been the kind of week that I hoped it would be. Greetings, Chris. But as I said, there's been some good stuff going on. Let's look back at this. Oh, I can do this. Who's messaging me? Somebody needs to stop messaging me. I hate that. You know, I'm sitting here and I'm in a groove, and then from over on the other PC, clunk. Dude, 4,602. 4,602. It was 4,600 just a little bit ago. 4,602. That's nice. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate the subscriptions. I really do. We're 398 away from 5,000. I don't think we're going to get 398 subs before the GWOC, the Great Underground Online Gaming Convention. You guys know about the GWOC. Have I told you? I can't remember. Have I kept it a secret? I don't know. But yeah, the GWOC is just a month away. Guys, we're like right there. And I mean, if you don't think that 30 days flies by, turn 50. I remember being a kid and 30 days was just an eternity. So yeah, we are a month out. Thank you, Patty. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. And that's awesome, Road March. Frank the Tank. Big props to you. Big props to Frank. Well, I'm glad you asked, Death Angel. For those of you who are new to the show, and there's a few of you, there's 4 or 5 of you new to the show, the Great Underground Online Gaming Convention. No, it's not just a glass. Is a virtual convention. It is a convention you attend from the comfort of your own mobile device, laptop, desktop PC, smart television. I don't know if it's web TV compatible. But you go find us on warhorn.net. Go find us on warhorn.net. And if you guys want the link, I'll put it up. But you go find us there and register for the Great Underground Online Gaming Con. Join us on Discord, sign up for games, And from the 22nd to the 25th of June, we will have an online gaming convention. You'll go to the Discord channel at the right time, and you'll play some tabletop role-playing games. There's Advanced Dungeons and Dragons being run by Doomsword Deathmaster himself. That has cash prizes. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not making that up. That's not me pulling like some kind of weird, it's Bill being weird. There's cash prizes available. I don't know if he has any time slots left. So if you want a chance to actually win money, win dollars, now that is Doomsword's responsibility. That is his jam. All right. Oh no, that's terrible, Bob. Well, I don't know. Anyway, hello, Fuchsia Cone. Something else I had intended to do was start my review of the book that I left out of range, but I'm going to step up and get it. Cash prizes. Yeah, you'll have to register as a professional Dungeons and Dragons player. But speaking of prizes, those aren't the only prizes, guys. Those aren't the only prizes. Those of you who were on Mail Call Monday a week ago, this past Monday, Jack Photon has provided so much gorgeous artwork. It's crazy. The artwork and homegrown D&D volumes that Jack has provided. They're beautiful. They look like they're straight out of Random House circa 1981, 1979. And the art prints, oh my gosh. I'm going to be blowing that. I'm going to be giving all of that away, guys. All right. And guys, we're having an artist alley. Tracy Lesh will be live streaming with me on Saturday afternoon and evening. Tracy will have art prints for autographed art prints from Tracy Lesh for sale at the Great Underground Online Gaming Convention and merch. So if you're like, I'm not an art print guy, but I can always use a nice mug. This is the famous Diggin' Life mug. This is a named character, actually. This is Grindel from my Monday night AD&D game that Tracy has been in now for a good 4 years. Tracy just knocked this out when it wasn't his turn, because that happens when you have 11 players. Although we've had a few people leave. We've kind of trimmed it down. So this is one of the pieces of merch you can get. And look at that. It's dishwasher safe, guys. It's dishwasher safe, and I wish mine was full of cold beer right now. So it doesn't have to just be a decorative thing. You can use that. And merch, oh my gosh, it just continues on. The cool stuff you can get. Dungeon Minister has designed some absolutely amazing pieces of merch for the convention. Go check him out. Pardon me a moment. Go check his stuff out. Let me know if you need a link to that. Okay, Lux. Have a good one. See you around Connect. But yeah, we have convention merch, guys. T-shirts, tote bags, glasses, mugs, cups. All kinds of good stuff. All kinds of good stuff. Carpenter ant loose in my office. That happens too. It's Florida. It's the rainy season and spring. And you might think at this point, wow, free con, cash prize tournament, door prizes of the Jack Photon art prints. I like the crab. And you'd be forgiven for saying that's pretty amazing, and that's enough for any small independent gaming convention, online or no, and crossing your arms and saying, wow, that's a lot. You'd be forgiven for saying that. But that's not all. This convention is also, in addition to being sponsored by Jack Photon, in addition to being sponsored by Dungeon Minister, it is also sponsored by our friends over at Hellebarde Games. Hellebarde Games makes the kind of adventure modules that they'd like to play, whether it's for 5th edition, Castles and Crusades, or the OSR. Old School is in play at the table with Hellebarde Games. You can find them on DriveThruRPG or on their website, hellebardegames.com, where right now they are having a 50% off sale on all of their in-print 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons modules. And that entails a mysterious swamp full of adventure and dangerous lizard men, or a caravan trail filled with adventure and mystery and adventuring locales along the way. Just use the discount code 5EOOP at checkout, and you will receive 50% off your purchase. That's like a buy one, get one, guys. That's a good deal. So check them out. Also, and you'd be forgiven for going, well, you've got a game company sponsoring you. You've got a famous TSR artist going to be there. You've got merch. You've got a cash contest convention, competition AD&D game. Oh, I guess you're just king of the hill. I guess you're like, you're king of the mountain. You're Crom, strong in his mountain. And that's it. You'd be forgiven for thinking that was it. But that ain't it. We have another sponsor, Frog God Games, sponsoring this convention. And they will have giveaways. Hellebarde is providing giveaways. This is going to be the easiest swag grab you will ever have. You come to the con, you download PDFs, you order stuff. What's not free, you just have delivered. You get a chance to win cash and prizes just for sitting at your computer for a session or two, or every session. I don't care. Just get up and walk around your house for an hour or so in between. Meet and interact with a famous TSR artist, a guy who was there at the beginning of Dungeons and Dragons. This is awesome, guys. When was the last time I played OD&D? Played that white box. Now, let me tell you. So let me grab this. It's a good question. Thank you, Trace. Anyway, that's the guac. Let me know if you want the links. I used to proudly take this white box with me to event games that I ran at Gods and Monsters and other locales. The problem is, this is not a very durable box. Yes, it's 50 years old. Well, it's probably closer to 40 years old because this is an OCE. Anyway, it's 40 to 50 years old. You put this in a backpack Or, you know, somebody unwittingly sets stuff on top of it and it starts to compress it and the corners get dinged up. That's why they're rare. Moreover, you put these out on a table and people who've never seen original D&D and have grease-covered fingers and so on, they bring their little Play-Doh mashers over and like, oh, can I see this? And they're already flipping through it before, you know, the of this it has left their lips. Or, now this has never happened to me, but I'm sure it's happened to others, or somebody sees this and they know exactly what this is. They know exactly, precisely what this is. And they wait till I'm being nice to somebody else and then it goes away with them. Yeah, I said Play-Doh mashers, Bob, because Dick Beaters is pretty impolite and will get me demonetized from you. Oh, shoot. Anyway, so, and understand, I actually had loose OD&D books before I got this. I paid, I think, $60 for this in 2005, 2004. But all the loose books back here are the ones that I used to use. Then I switched over to using the OD&D books in the Wizards of the Coast wood cigar box. Hello, Paint Minis Live. And eventually what I came to was using these that Volcano God had printed up for me. Because if somebody steals these, spills something on these, damages these through mishandling, I mean, this is like $7 printed on Lulu. It's not a big deal. I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, I had a stack of these that I gave away. So this is what I use. So to answer your question, Trace, I have played a lot of original Dungeons and Dragons. Very rarely have I ever taken that set out to use. Frequently, the loose books behind it, I used to take out and use. Then I stopped and I started using those. Then I stopped and I switched to these. So I have played a lot of original Dungeons and Dragons, just not so much with actual sets. Now, if this were still a time when you could just flip open a boxed D&D or Star Frontiers or Boot Hill or Top Secret or Gamma World or any other pre-2E D&D, pre-Rape of the Game, by which I mean carried off by unhappy forces. When I say that, I'm going to have to edit that out, aren't I? Anyway, I could just grab a copy of Your Gateway to Adventure and be like, oh man, I'm going to have to order another OCE from the Dungeon Hobby Shop in Lake Geneva, and they would package one up and send it to me. And that would be just snazzy. We don't live in those times anymore. People want $400 and $500 for those, and anywhere from $100 to $200 for individual supplements. And another reason that I stopped playing with the loose books that are behind the OCE there is because the loose books are all autographed by the people who wrote them. So OD&D is autographed by Gary and Dave. Supplement 1 is autographed by Gary and Rob Kuntz. Supplement 2 is autographed by Dave Arneson and Tim Kask, who helped with the editing with it. Supplement 3 is autographed by Jim Ward and by Rob Kuntz. And Gods, Demigods, and here, that would have been Supplement 4. And I think Gary autographed my copy of, I know he autographed my copy of Chainmail, and I think he autographed my copy of Swords and Spells. Walking around, that is like the equivalent of walking around with an autographed Babe Ruth baseball card just sitting in your shirt pocket. You don't do it, right? Could you paint up a mini for me? Thank you, Paint Minis. Could you guys paint a mini for me? You mean like I send you a mini to paint? Is that what you're asking? Just I don't want to answer that until I know. Did somebody send me an Arduin book? No, I never got an Arduin book. Son of Sit. The gleam in the eye of Sit. For 1,000 years I have watched you. There you go, guys. That's right. Dave was a regular on the weekly radio program on WDBO. Paint Minis, reach out to me. Did somebody just delete their post? Oh, no, it just got bumped up. Okay. I'm going to put this up here so I don't forget it. The people who hosted it was like a nerd podcast, but they actually had a spot like late night, Sunday night on WDBO, and sometimes they had Arneson in. And this was around 2002 or 2003. I worked in a toy warehouse with the show host, and I actually called in and trolled the show. And this is well before the world went crazy. Okay. Well, Patty, reach out to me an email. Paint Minis Live, reach out to me an email. You can see my email go across here. If you want to paint a mini line for the show, let me know and we'll figure it out. Thank you, Patty. Take care. TXG, you know what? I'll answer that question for you in a minute. Anyway, to go on about Death Angel Shadow. So we, Death Angel Shadow and I, both around the Orlando area, right around the turn of the century. This was when I interviewed Gary. And then I found out that this guy, we worked in a toy distribution warehouse. Thomas the Tank Engine is still huge with kids. And back around that time, a friend of a friend, I was looking for work, and a friend of a friend said, hey, you want to come out and work this summer in a toy warehouse where we put together packages to send to little train stations where they have Thomas the Tank Engine events, and it's all merch, toy train sets, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, absolutely, that sounds like a ton of fun. So I did that, and it was good money at the time. And I found out that the guy that I worked with was on the WDBO program, and they occasionally talked to Dave Arneson on the show. And I was like, yeah, I heard Arneson lives around here. And I ended up meeting Dave at the local Historical Miniatures Game Society's Huracan event. And I asked him if he could autograph Blackmore for me. And it was on this top of my stack of OD&D books. And he autographed it and then just took and went through the OD&D books and right next to Gary's. He didn't like write it real huge or accidentally draw a line through Gary's name, but he autographed it right next to Gary's. So without so much as asking about any of the other books, he autographed them all for me. He did kind of give me a dead fish handshake because I was playing AD&D at the time, but other than that, he was a nice enough fellow. But I called into that radio program one night. They knew I was going to call in because I talked to him, and I'm like, okay, here's what I'm going to do. Because they were talking about women and superheroes. Now, this is something. First of all, I was trolling. Let me be clear. I was trolling on the show. And, I kind of threw on an obnoxious voice and I called in and I said, yeah, women and superheroes. I'm a comic book fan. I'm a big comic book fan. I got a Spider-Man #1 on the wall. I'm looking at it's everything in my house is comic books. I got all the classic comics right up on the wall. They're very protected, UV bags and acid-free backing boards. And, I got to say about women's superheroes, it's never worked. It's never worked. I mean, look at the names. Even the authors know. Superman, Spider-Man, Batman. And what do you have for the women? You have Batgirl, Supergirl. It doesn't work. I'm sure they're nice. But maybe they can do super baking or super laundry. Just the most obnoxious, soft misogynist, And it just they there were people calling in after that. Just, I don't know who this guy thinks he is, but I guess he's never heard of Spider-Woman or Wonder Woman. It just pissed people off so bad. And we had planned to make it kind of a recurring bit. Like I was going to come like in the studio and things like that. But that was at a time of day, like to get a slot like that, you almost have to spend more money than you might even get from the, you don't like the voice, Trace? What can I tell? I'm a collector of fine comics, I don't have time for professional voice lessons. I know the important things in the world, like my limited 4-issue run of X-Men and Micronauts from 1983. A very rare book in the condition I have it in. Thank you. Anyway, so Ratso Rain Man. I am walking here. I am walking to the comic store. I didn't base it on anything, I was just like, I want to disguise it just in case they ever have me on the show as a guest, which was also in the works. I don't want people like, oh, you're that monster. X-Men Micronauts was frigging awesome. Thank you very much. X-Men Micronauts crossover was amazing. I loved the X-Men Micronauts crossover because I was a Micronauts fan when I was a little kid. Star Wars Micronauts crossovers were absolutely a thing on my bedroom floor when I was a kid. Acro Year fighting Darth Vader. It happened, folks. It happened. It's the truth they don't want you to know, people. Acro Year fought Darth Vader. Luke Skywalker was there. He was using the Force. But they needed help, people, and they've covered it up. They've hid the real history from you. Don't believe their lies. You want to see me for more? I'm sorry. This is... maybe I'll like set them up on tripods and just kind of switch stuff. But anyway, no, I just had a lot of fun calling in, and we had a lot of fun doing it, and it never came to fruition. And by the time I kind of came back around to, hey, I need to check. Joey was his name. Joey was the show host. And his co-host didn't know about the call-in either. Like I messaged him on Microsoft Messenger, which he got on his just a BlackBerry or something, because this is like 2003. I messaged him on MSN, ready to call in, and he made sure a line was open for me and then rolled it over into the call queue, and I went to town. Robert, that almost sounds like something from the third Mad Max movie. Ride to Valhalla, chrome, plastic, and bendy. It is I who have lifted you from the toy box. Oh, no, I started a question because somebody had asked me. TXG asked me, where did I get the Moloch Mini in the video? Okay, so Moloch Mini is, of course, the demon idol. And it is, you can purchase that from Otherworld Miniatures, not painted. I just very carefully painted him over the course of a couple of years because I don't have good painting habits. But that is a kit that you can buy from Otherworld. And I built it, and it's not just a showpiece. You can take the thieves off of it, and use the various bits and pieces as you see fit. But I absolutely wanted to paint mine up to look like the front of the player's handbook. Thank you, Fuchsia. Of course, if you really like it. The Starbird. Now, the Starbird was the electronic toy that looked a little bit like a Y-Wing, but had like a hojillion sound functions it could do, if I'm not mistaken. It was like one of those things that struck me later when I thought about it. Even when I was a kid, I was like, but there's more toys, right? There's more toys. Like, you guys are going to do more toys. There's going to be like action figures and stuff for this, but no. You just held it by its neck, where it was basically like if you think about an electronic guitar, you could just press certain buttons and have hyperspace noises. And speaking of which, I ought to show this to you guys one night because I know how to do it. Oh, you're quite welcome. Paint Mini said we could help with. I should. I've got an airbrush. I've got tons of paints over here. These 3 fishing tubs, you can't really see them, are full of wonderful paints. But anyway, anyway, toys. Yeah. I was floored when I found this out. I found this out a few years ago. I'd say around 2016 or so, 2017. The electronic beepers in early Star Wars toys. I'm talking about like you ordered these for Christmas of 78. They were not piezos. They were not switches and speakers. What makes the noises in at least in the X-Wing, the TIE Fighter, the Millennium Falcon, the Y-Wing, and I think, I haven't taken it apart, but I think in the Snow Speeder, what makes the noise is not a piezo. It's not like a couple of diodes and a tiny speaker. In the X-Wing, specifically, it is an electric motor that drives a toothed gear that has a reed in it, like a saxophone or a woodwind reed touches it, well, except it's plastic, it's not wood. And as the motor spins at high speed, it makes that zzz, zzz sound. which is that's just so fascinating. And the reason that they stop working is it's not anything damaged. If you squirt sewing machine oil in them and just work them constantly, because the oil in that thing is almost 50 years old. It's turned to thick grease. So the power, even from a couple of brand new AA batteries, or I think it's 3 C batteries for the Millennium Falcon, that doesn't that's not enough power to turn that motor and strum the reed. It's all mechanical. So if you very delicately take those apart and re-oil the motors, you'll get sound effects again out of your old Star Wars toys. There's a channel called Toy Polloi, which I highly recommend. This dude is righteous over at Toy Polloi. Let me tell you what. My X-Wing was broken. Let me show you guys. Where is it? Can I get it without knocking stuff off? Probably not. Okay, so this is my X-Wing. This is the X-Wing model, X-Wing fighter, the one that I got for Christmas. But okay, so dig. I push R2 down, you hear that click, lock S foils into attack position. I don't have batteries in it, so pressing the button's not going to do anything. And then when we bring our S foils back in, we push the button, and then they're back down. They're good to go. A couple of years after I got this as a gift, one day I pushed down on R2 and it doesn't stay down. What happened? Well, what happened? I've lost R2. So the Chrome R2D2 button, has a lip around his inside that not only holds the button in place, but it catches on a mechanical latch. When you push it down, it rocks a mechanical switch back that holds that lip. Well, it's a thin plastic lip around there, and eventually, greetings, Jorge, eventually, that side of the lip snapped off from all the heavy play, like it do. Needless to say, I was heartbroken. And I just lived with it. I would put Lego blocks in there to hold the S-foils in attack position. And I remember getting into my head one day. Those are Phillips head screws. I have a Phillips head screwdriver. Why don't I take it apart? And I got a little bit into it, and I saw the lip, the broken off lip section floating around in the body, and I realized that mechanically speaking, as I was seeing wires and gears and everything else, I just carefully put it back together, made sure it worked as is. And then fast forward to 2016, and I'm checking out the Toy Polloi video catalog. R2, the button that is R2's dome, screws onto the post that pushes down and locks the S-foils into attack positions, held on with a square peg that is up in the middle of him. I took the screw out, turned him around, put him back down, reassembled the shell, bam! And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't play with my Star Wars figures that much anymore. But I have them and I love them and I'll never get rid of them. My children will throw them in the trash 2 days after I die, along with everything else you see behind me. But I won't. You know how many kids I knew that blew up their Star Wars toys with M80s or buried Luke Skywalker up to his waist and ran over him with a lawnmower? I knew a lot of SIDS when I was growing up. My parents never let me be one. Star Wars toys didn't go outside. Star Wars toys were inside toys, and I was happy about that. Very happy. So there's no chance that that side of R2 will snap off. And if it does, I know how to get down in there and get the piece and put it back on with plastic cement. Plastic cement is not crazy glue, by the way. Cyanoacrylate does soften glue soften some plastic just a little bit, but generally it relies on being a gummy substance between point A and point B. Plastic cement straight up melts plastic. It's like, I'm going to melt the edge you put me on. I'm going to melt the other edge you put me on. When you push me together, eventually I'm going to dry up. And then that's going to be plastic that is welded together. We're the reason they start. Yes. So, gosh, I don't even know how we got here. Talking about toys and stuff like that. At least I couldn't take my D&D books apart with a screwdriver. But I'm glad I held on to my Star Wars toys. I love them. The last Star Wars toy I got when I was a kid, I bought an A-Wing when we were at Tatooine Traders in Disney once upon a time. I know this sounds weird, but I wish I'd bought the Power of the Force Millennium Falcon when they re-released the movies, the original films back in '97, because it had a light up engine flare in the back. Like, it used early LED bulbs to light up the engine in all blue, and you could push buttons in it to make different sounds. Like make a Han Solo sound, make a chessboard sound. Mine just goes when you push the button. Yeah, Trace is rebuilding an entire Castle Serpent. It's the LJN D&D toys. Trace is rebuilding one. I hope when you're done, you'll put the pictures up where we can access them on the World Wide Web. https://www, then do a dot. You can use the little period on the number pad or the period on the greater than key. Now don't type a space. TR. You know what I'm saying. Well, your parents were almost close to being able to get the Millennium Falcon set because, and I've told this story before, a parents' focus group that Kenner and Lucasfilm had come in and look at the prototype of the Millennium Falcon. They said it was too big, too fragile, and would be too expensive, and there were too many little parts on it that could get lost. And they showed them a prototype of a playset. Now, if you guys don't know what a playset was, a playset back in the day was, generally speaking, you get like a cardboard background and some bits of terrain scenery. Like there was a playset Jawa sandcrawler, but there was also like a big Jawa sandcrawler. I think there was a playset AT-AT, but there was also the AT-AT toy. But there was a playset Mos Eisley Katina. There was also a playset Hoth Battle Station. But they were mostly cardboard and the thinnest plastic they could get away with using. And maybe a little spring thing so you could make, like the Hoth had a Probot that sat on a little spring arm, and he was made from like 3 pieces, and you push the button and the spring arm would pop up and he'd blow to pieces when you could have hands shoot him. Droid Fact, I'm gonna disagree on Droid Factory, Bob. You know what? Not too much. The Droid Factory was a playset, but Droid Factory kind of stood alone. It was in sort of a hinterland. It was its own thing, but at the same time, because you could build things, it was sort of Anyway, the Droid Factory was cool. I wish I still had the Droid Factory, but I lost all the pieces as time went on. But Hasbro, or I don't know if it was Lucasfilm holding their own against Hasbro, or Hasbro and Lucasfilm holding their own against the Moms Group, but they said, no, we need a Millennium Falcon. And so we got a Millennium Falcon. I'm pointing up here like you guys can see it. I have a Millennium Falcon. Do you guys want to see the Millennium Falcon? Let me know and I'll show you. I showed it back at Christmas, but maybe you weren't here or maybe you weren't subscribed to the show. Do you... No, the R2-D2 you could make with the Droid Factory was awesome, and I wish I had. I have like 1 or 2 pieces of Droid Factory in a box. Yeah, 3D print the things now. Unicycle Peon wants to see the Millennium Falcon. Do I really have to ask? Fuchsia says yes. Trace Richards says yes. Well, you know, if you really want to see something, a lot of people find that it's worth spending money on, but I'm kidding. I'm kidding. All right, so you guys want to see it. I'll show you guys the Millennium Falcon. Bob still has the Death Star. Do you have all the pieces, Bob? Do you have the trash compactor? Do you have the trash? Do you have the Dianoga? Do you have the laser cannon? Do you have the extending bridge? Do you have the grapple hook to swing Luke and Leia across with? Do you have the individual outer panels? That warms the cockles of my congested heart, Bob. Hang on a second. Hang on a second. This ain't no party. This ain't no disco. Hang on. Hold on, guys. It's like me. It's old and parts kind of fall off sometimes. So here it is. There you go. That is the real deal. Oh, Fuchsia, thank you. Thank you. I was teasing, but thank you just the same. And there's the interior. And there you have it, guys. The Millennium Falcon. Dun, 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 dun. One day, bonus, snowspeeder, got the harpoon gun, got the spool, pew. One day I'll get the sound effect motors working for you guys. It's fun to sell those at the cost of your daughter's college degree. That happens. Thank you for the super, Fuchsia. But one day I will get the sound effect motors working in those, and we'll do a May the 5th or something, and I won't cry for Eric. I'll play with Star Wars toys with you guys. The ones that I wish I'd had, and I still kick myself for this. Back in the late 80s, you could go to a flea market. I remember there was one just up the street. Death Angels probably knows about what I'm talking about, the Sanford Flea Market. Yeah, they just, here's a guy selling toys. You want a TIE fighter? Yeah, here you go. It's $5, you know. Maybe it's missing a few pieces. Buy 3 or 4 of them and get a good one, or 2. You know, $20. But I wish I'd gotten this is not like, I wish my parents had bought this. I just wish at some point I had availed myself and purchased a TIE fighter, a B-wing, a Y-wing, and a land speeder. Those B-wing models really pushed the engineering abilities at Hasbro. Those things, because they had sound effects. First of all, they were huge. Like with the S-foil locked down, if you laid them on top of the Millennium Falcon, the back cockpit would be at the engine nacelle, and the lower ion pod would be just like a half an inch short of the front cargo mandibles. I need a wider set. Well, let me tell you about that. That will never happen. I am in a space that is about 12 feet wide and about 10 or 11 feet that way. Maybe. Might be closer to 9 or 10, but it's not. That's not ever going to happen. But yeah, no, the B-wing fighter. I wish I'd picked up one of those, but you know, the cockpit swiveled. They didn't really show this enough, I felt, in the films. But if we're going to completely geek out about Star Wars, we might as well just completely geek out about Star Wars. Technically, for maneuverability and pilot orientation purposes, the B-wing had this bullet-shaped cockpit that sat on top of a cruciform wing affair. And then the wings folded out like that. It was designed by the Mon Calamari themselves. And yes, I'm going to completely geek out about this. The Mon Calamari, it was the second starship built exclusively by the Rebel Alliance. The Incom X-wing was an outgrowth. It was an outgrowth of the Z-95 Headhunter, which was kind of the equivalent of the F-4 Phantom in the Star Wars universe. The Z-95 Headhunter it had a single wing. It didn't have the cruciform wings, but it was essentially an exo-atmospheric strike fighter. Initially, not even hyperdrive capable. Your cruiser would fly in, the Republic would drop off a few wings of them, and then they were capable of entering atmosphere, dropping bombs, firing missiles, and dogfighting really well. Incom laid out plans for the Republic for the X-wing literally on the eve of the fall of the Republic, when the Emperor declared empire, when he proclaimed himself emperor, and the Republic became an empire, and a rebel alliance was in the process of being created. Incom engineers and their families essentially crammed all the plans and all the tooling and dies they could into a ship and got the hell out of Dodge and joined the rebellion. Basically, they set up factories around the rim to build, X-wings. And I don't mean like 200 X-Wings here, 500 X-Wings there. I mean, like 10, and then we got to get the hell out of here because the Empire is one hyperspace jump away. So, yes, it did. I'm just saying it didn't show it enough, Bob. So the first reference to the Z95 Headhunter is in Han Solo at Star's End, and I'll explain that. I'm going to completely spoil that book for you in just a second. So Incom basically building on their reputation of the incredibly durable Z95 Headhunter. They pitched the X-Wing. The Republic was like, that looks pretty awesome. And the Republic was like, then the Empire was like, nah, we're just going to stamp out these cheap TIE fighters that are just as effective and have next to no shields, but they're all maneuverability and gun. So yeah, we're going to do that. But they still wanted the Republican, or they still wanted the Incom engineers. So as over the course of years, as the rebellion wore on, the Mon Calamari stepped up and said, you've got engineers and engineering droids. We have plans for this ultra heavy fighter that takes all the power, all the firepower of a Y-Wing and puts it into something that really, by all accounts, is about like a small Corvette in terms of stopping power. And thus the B-Wing was born. And they built up. I mean, like, they were not sending B-Wings into frontline service. They were literally storing them up for a massive throwdown with the Empire. So at the battle of not the Battle of Yavin, the Battle of Death Star 2, here are these brand new fighters. I mean, factory new. They have that new car smell inside. And they just rain hell over. Everybody asks, well, why didn't just because they blow up the Death Star and destroyed the ISD, there's still other ships. No, there weren't. Now, I know they expanded this in later lore. They changed it around, but yeah, no, there weren't. Why? Because you had B-Wings escorted by A-Wings as strike packages, absolutely wrecking the shit out of the Imperial fleet because they absolutely were not at all ready for the Y-Wings to roll in on them. Dude, Y-Wing was slinging like 3 or 4 ion cannons. 2 shots, your shields are down. 2 more shots, you're not getting your shields back up because your ship is wrecked. And then the missiles and blasters start raining down on you. So that's that is the lore of the Y-Wing. So the Z95 Headhunter, Han Solo at Star's End. Now, I loved the fact that of all the kids I knew in elementary school, I was the only kid who read books, like read big, thick books, and 190 pages was a big, thick book. I was reading The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings when I was 6, 7, 8 years old. But when the Han Solo at Star's End came out, I got it off the Riff cart, Reading is Fundamental cart. I remember I got that. Or maybe I asked my dad to buy it, or maybe they bought it for me. But I read Splinter of the Mind's Eye, which was supposed to be the sequel to Star Wars. Lucas built himself in an escape clause. If Star Wars had bombed, the ability to reuse the sets and all the other actors, you could either have nobodies or you could just reuse the costumes. So the If I'm comparing modern day jets with Star Wars, the Y-wing would be the Republic F-105 Thunder Chief. If you know, you know. Anyway, so yeah, Lucas had planned it out, and the planet was going to be a swamp planet shrouded in mist. So you wouldn't have to do big, expensive sets, and an ion storm on the planet would cause Luke and Leia to crash on the planet and be walking around a misty jungle with Anthony Daniels and forget C-3PO's actor's name all of a sudden. But anyway, and guys in Stormtrooper costumes and a guy in a Darth Vader costume, and you might have to get James Earl Jones to do the voice. But then Star Wars didn't bomb, so I read that and I was like, holy crap, this is Star Wars Part 2. I've read Star Wars 2, and people and my friends were like, what? What is that? And I'd be like, Star Wars 2. But then the Han Solo books came out, and the first one was Han Solo's at Star's End, and these were prequels. These were set in the Corporate Sector Authority, which is a section of space on the rim. This is canon now. Proper canon, let me say that. Not Canon Flea Kennedy's Star Wars. The splinter in the eye of Set, which is doubly good because it was Darth Vader on the planet too. I am so sorry, Christopher. Kenny Baker, thank you. Yes, Kenny Baker. But anyway, it was a section of space completely run by ruthless corporations. All they did was strip worlds for raw materials, produce goods, and ship them into the Empire. And the Empire was like, you know what? We have imperial governors, but your board of directors, they just answer to a regional governor. That's it. Keep the goods flowing. Squeeze. Because they were already, like, even in the days of the Republic when everything was wonderful, the corporate sector were assholes. They were scum. Think if a chunk of our galaxy was mapped out and taken over by Amazon. And you have the Corporate Sector Authority with their own police. And Han Solo ran afoul of them. He ran afoul of them because there was a planet that was going to rebel, that was willing to spend the money to have guns smuggled to them. Han takes the guns to them, but they get jumped by an IS, not an ISD. It's basically the corporate sector was allowed their own stellar navy, and they had a local equivalent of the ISD. I can't remember what it is, but they dump fighters, and the fighters chase Han across the surface of this world where he's dropped off the guns, and he threads the eye of a needle, stands the Falcon up on its edge, and flies down a canyon. And when he does, it tears off the radar dish, the sensor dish. Sound familiar? So they jump away. They have some back and forth. They have some adventures. And when they go to a planet, they find out that because Han's ship is so hot-rodded, it's immediately impounded. Now, they don't know who Han is, right? Yet. It is immediately locked down, immediately impounded. So Han is doing his best innocent. I don't understand, officer. Whatever could the problem be? And he's like, well, look, your engine is chopped and channeled to hell and gone. I can tell you've got shielding removed. Your weapons are way over spec. Those look like military grade shield generators on the outside. We're going to have to do a point inspection on this thing. And if it's okay that you have this, you'll get on the ship waiver list. But otherwise, No, I'm sorry. I'm impounding this. So they put his ship on lockdown, and Han and Chewie contrive to get the key card. They get back into their ship and they boost. And so they're puzzling over what to do and how to do this. How do we get on the waiver list so every time we jump into a system, we aren't pounced by corporate sector authority ships wanting to basically pull us over? Because he knows if they pull him over and they do retinal scans and DNA checks and they look at the actual flight records on the ship, he's a dead man. They will execute him on the spot for his smuggling activities. Are you guys like digging this, or am I just going completely off the reservation? Let me know and I'll wrap up now. I mean, I won't keep talking Star Wars if you guys don't want to hear it. But anyway, so Han realizes that the best place to do this is there is an outlaw tech garage, a chop shop, if you will. Not that they bump off people and steal their ships and stuff like that. But it's an outlaw tech shop, and it's run by a fellow named Doc and his daughter Jessa. And it's very strongly implied, because it's Han Solo, that he's got like he's got some history with Jessa. So Brian Daley describes this sequence, not in great detail, of Han having to go through back channels, because it's a floating shop, right? They go from planet to planet because the corporate authority wants Doc, Jessa, and his whole organization dead, as much as they want Han dead, at the very least. Well, Jack, I mean, the problem there was Cushing just didn't know how to hold the sonic screwdriver. Anyway, so I mean, he's like at one point they jump into a dead system. It's just like a bunch of asteroids around, Quasar or something like that. And they have to sit there for hours waiting for their contacts to jump in, and their contacts show up. And they basically get grilled. Like, there's a whole big Q&A thing, and I think I'm not doing it justice, but they get asked a series of questions, and any one of which Han knows, if he answers them wrong, will lead to their immediate deaths. This is how serious these people are about not getting caught by the corporate sector authority. So they finally get Jessa's location, or they finally get Doc and Jessa's location. They land on the planet, and Jessa's like, "Yeah, I can't help you. My dad has been kidnapped. Come to find out, corporate sector has been disappearing people. Their secret police, the ESPOS, ESPOS, the ESPOS. Yeah, I know. They've been disappearing voices all over the corporate sector. People who would speak out against the corporate sector authority, because that creates ripples, and you don't want the Empire coming in and just saying, you guys can't keep your shit under control. This is Imperial space now." So she's like, "I'll fix your ship. I'll give you a military grade sensor suite, jamming equipment, all the things you don't get to have, but you have to go save my dad." So I thought it was the blue paint that Nimoy was supposed to wear that was the deal killer, Jack, but we can discuss that later. So Han's like, "Fine, yeah, whatever." Well, right at that time, what happens? Bam! Corporate sector ISD drops in, dumps fighters. Their air warning systems, of course, are going nuts. And there's like Han, Jess. Like Han wants him and Chewie to jump into a couple of fighters. The thing is, they've already started working on the Falcon. The Falcon won't be space worthy. And you got fighters incoming. So Han's like, okay, give me and Chewie a couple of helmets, and there's a few techs, and it's very much like the scene in Star Wars where all the fighter pilots are gathering around. They're getting a quick briefing from Jess, and there's like 6 guys on the ground for the outlaw techs that can fight against 12 of the starfighters that the Empire has dumped out. So they pile in to the ships, and Chewie has to stay on the ground and try and help get the Falcon fixed and work ground defenses and such. And the ships they have are Z-95 headhunters. Now, they're never really described in great detail by Brian Daley, except he refers to them as scissor wing, which the X-wing, if you remember, is scissored wing. It has slanted forward. Well, they have straight leading edges, but the backs are forward slanted. Triple blasters on each wing. The particular models that the outlaw techs have that they were actually cleaning up for sale are fighter bomber variants, because his Han is going to his ship. He can see that there's burn marks and weld marks where drop tanks and rocket pods and missile racks and bomb racks had formerly been on the wings and hull. And so they get in. 3 of the outlaw tech's crew are killed. Jess's ship is damaged when she's in an inverted dive. Han saves her by flying under and literally flipping her wing. And before she can rotate back around, she ejects, and then Han lands his ship. But they wiped out all the IRDs. They were factory prototype IRDs. I don't remember what the acronym IRD stands for. That is where the Z-95 Headhunter, the precursor to the X-Wing, makes his appearance. You're welcome. So there you go, guys. There you go. And I hope you enjoyed that. You're quite welcome. As far as I know, they never made a Z-95 Headhunter toy. I built one out of Lego when I was a kid. I mean, not big enough for my Star Wars figures. Actually, I did, like, I came home. I had this helicopter, this Lego helicopter. It was like a utility rescue helicopter. After we saw Star Wars, and I took it apart and built an X-Wing from memory. Now, I won't spoil the back half of the book. It is a breeze. It is one of those books you can take, like when you're getting your tires rotated, or getting your chains off your tires, or chains on your tires, or whatever, you know, wife's getting dental work done, husband's getting dental work done, that you can finish in a couple of breezy hours. It's not a difficult read. Han Solo's Revenge is equally good for different reasons. And Han Solo and the Lost Legacy is the only book in the series that directly references events that happen after that trilogy. But all of this leads up to Star Wars: A New Hope, if you will. It is a lot of fun. I'm a living Wikipedia insofar it entails the Han Solo trilogy, Splinter of the Mind's Eye, Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi novelizations. I was so excited back in the very early 90s that there would be more Star Wars books, and I actually had, I may still have, I don't know, a hardback copy of the first book that was released. And I read it. I thought it was okay. I read it again, didn't much like it, didn't read the following books. And I just never went back. And then between then and Disney looting and carrying off the entirety of the Star Wars franchise on its back, they apparently released 90 million paperbacks. And I know a lot of people hate what Kathleen Kennedy Star Wars is, and I understand that, and I completely get it. But there were some truly, just from the summaries I read, because I tried to stay up with it, there were some truly abysmal Star Wars books. You know, kill Chewbacca by dropping a planet on him. Yes. A single Jedi deflects a Death Star class laser blast using the Force and his lightsaber. Kills him. Burns him to a crisp, but he does it. Zombie stormtroopers. I just can't with that. Oh, and the Star Wars comic book was good too. Sorry. So, Splinter of the Mind's Eye, Han Solo trilogy, Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, The Return of the Jedi, and the 90-some issues of Star Wars comics that were good. That I can tell you guys all about. But, you know, the sons, daughters, cousins, chiropodists of Thrawn, you know, Yuzan Vong invasion, part 9, we really mean it this time. And John Stuart Keller, you're absolutely right. None of the only book that I would say just treated the series with contempt, and the author like said straight to the fans, "Go fuck yourselves," was it Chuck? Now I apologize if I've got this wrong, but was it Chuck Wendig that wrote the book where Chewbacca dies and then was like, "I had a bad year. Screw you," which granted he did. It was awful. His brother passed away. But as a creative guy, I'm going to tell you, don't empower the bad stuff in your life by making more bad stuff for people who want to love stuff. How many of you guys remember in the fall when I'd sit here looking like I had to run across the no man's land during the Battle of the Somme because of what was going on with my car? Was that fun? No, of course it wasn't. But anyway, no, my Star Wars window is pretty narrow, but that's the way I like it. That's what people are like. Star Wars is over. Star Wars is dead. I hate Star Wars now. I don't hate Star Wars. I love Star Wars. I just don't think that what Disney did is Star Wars. I don't think the majority of the novels are Star Wars. It's fan fiction. Let's all take a moment and think about how awful Wizards of the Coast is. That didn't take long. In the D20 Star Wars system, Wizards of the Coast treated Star Wars with more affection and grace and consideration and kindness and positive emotion and love than has Disney. Dang it, Paint Minis Live, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And that is complete. That is totally wrong of me. The animated The Clone Wars by Genny Tartakovsky. I apologize for overlooking that. It's been a while. That tells me I should go back and check it out. The animated Clone Wars. The episode with Mace Windu that is entirely without dialogue and shows the man take down an entire droid army by himself. Force pulls every loose piece out of one legion of battle droids. Force throws every loose piece like a county-sized shotgun blast of metal shrapnel through the other legion of battle droids to destroy them. How is that not badass? Took them down with his fists. Yeah, Disney's in trouble, Jimmy. Disney is very in trouble. And it's such a badass scene, Paint Minis Live. He'd literally, I mean, the way Gedney animated Mace just gets that determined look, holds up his hand, and then and then hits his microphone, and then yanks. And there's just this blur of parts. All these battle droids drop because they've been torn into pieces. All these battle droids drop because they've been blasted into pieces by the pieces that those battle droids were pulled into. And then at the end, the little kid holds up the canteen to him and he smiles and drinks it and hands it back and then leaps away. What a great scene. Yes, that was amazing Star Wars. That was Star Wars. Gedney Tartakovsky is my age. Genny Tartakovsky came to the United States with his parents from the USSR and was inundated with pop culture. And he loves it. He loves American pop culture specifically, which is why D and D, the episode of Dexter's Lab, D and D, is so damn good. He didn't do that mockingly. He didn't do that to like, I hate D&D, so I'm going to make fun of it. Lol, you nerds. That is a loving tribute to Dungeons and Dragons. And granted, he was, Lucas was like, yeah, you got to do this, this, and this with your series. There's my wife's kitty cat. Say hello, Lexi. Hello, Lexi. I have played WEG Star Wars. I played a Wookiee in a short 4-game campaign. Yeah, I heard about that. That makes me happy. Do you know what? If it'd been actual Star Wars, it'd still be open. If it looked like fucking Star Wars and not that Luc Besson science fiction movie that came out in the mid-2000s, people would have cared about it. Nobody wants to see Rey. Nobody wants to see Poe Dameron. And even Adam Driver and John Boyega fucking hate those movies. It's just true. Don't believe me? Look it up online. Make it the Rebel Alliance. Make it Han Solo. But Kathleen Kennedy standing there screeching, anything you can do, I can do better, at the top of her lungs in the direction of Marin County, demanded that the whole you go to Disney World now and you go to Disney Studios, the whole Tatooine Traders, that's all Jakku, and it's all based on the new trilogy. You'll see Vader during the parade out there, and that's it. Yes, I saw that, Bob. But no, I played. Yeah, they did give a tribute to that. They did do a good tribute to that, because again, Gedney grew up in the United States in the 1970s. Of course, he was going to be influenced by it. Anyway, I've kind of rambled now for a couple of hours, guys. I'm sort of running out of things to say. We've talked a lot about Star Wars. This is like no filter cap for me, right? This is positive, no filter cap, not, I wrecked my car, my wife is terribly ill, I'm terribly ill, Wizards of the Coast did something awful, and I'm just in shock about it. No filter cap from me. You get positive nerd talk. Yeah, by all accounts, she did ruin Indiana Jones. I've heard nothing but bad reviews about it. It's got like a 30 something on tomato ratings, Rotten Tomatoes. Let's look that up. Let's look that up. I'll put this up on the screen. So what do we got here? Drum roll, please. 50% rotten. 50% rotten. Look at that. You proud of yourself, Kathleen? Not are you happy? Because I know she's got more money. She could pull up in front of my house tomorrow and write me a check and say, be gone. Who would I be to refuse free money? Yeah, those are just abysmal numbers. There is one thing I want to mention in passing, and this has nothing to do with this has nothing to do with anything we've talked about. And that's the hell of it about Rotten Tomatoes. It's not pure. It can be bought. Disney didn't have enough money to save the Indiana Jones reviews. Think about that. Think about how bad the movie must be if you remove the review buys. Let that sink in. So last night, we did the thing. He did the thing. I did the thing where we threw virtual dice on screen, and I did, and if you didn't see it, if you're just coming through, I did this thing. Boom. Well, if you notice, my system kind of choked a lot when I did that. And last night we were having so many dropouts and so many stutters, and things were like just slowing to a crawl. So what I did was I've ordered a new processor for the streaming rig. I've upgraded a full. It's got like a 2015 Xeon in it, and I bumped up from 4 cores, 4 threads to 6 cores, 12 threads, and I've got to try and get some RAM. I've got to scrape up some cash and try and get some RAM for this thing. So hopefully, because it's not just bandwidth. I say it's just bandwidth. It's not just bandwidth. Because web browsers use GPU rendering, right? And this thing's got a dinky video card in it. Profit of Beans is upgrades. Take care, Trace. We'll see you around. Be well. It is mostly my rig. And these are just things I'm going to have to fix. But the first one will be here on the 30th. Till then, just kind of bear with me. When I'm just doing stuff like I have a guest, like I have one guest, and I'm not doing this. I'm not doing the dice on the screen constantly. It's fairly well behaved. There's no GPU rendering going on. It's all just being handled via HTTPS on StreamYard. You guys are streaming to StreamYard, whoever my guests are. I'm streaming to StreamYard, and then that stream's going out to YouTube, as opposed to you're streaming to me, and then I'm trying to stream everything up to YouTube myself. So there's still stuff that has to happen locally, and I'm getting the CPU upgrade, and I'm hoping I can find some affordable memory to stuff in this box, because 6 cores, 12 threads is a lot more grunt than I've got. The real kicker would be as if I could get at least a 1060 to bang in there to handle some of the web rendering, like for the dice roller and all. And 128 gigs of RAM in there, just to be a studio box, not to play games on. My game box is over there. It's fine. And I just say, well, why not do on the studio stuff? Because I don't want to mix the two. All right, that's about it I got, guys. I'm gonna scoot on out of here. Listen, everybody, I love you. Have an absolutely wonderful evening. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Tomorrow night, Errol Otis will be here. Errol will be here at 7 o'clock Eastern. He will be here at 7 o'clock Eastern. He will be here for an hour. We've got a lot to get into for an hour. So, not 7:05 to 8 o'clock, not 7:10 to 8:05, 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock, which means, hey, thank you, Paint Like Minis. I appreciate that. Thank you for that last super there. I appreciate that. I really do. That is awesome. But we'll keep talking to you guys, and take care. I love you all. And we'll talk to you again real soon. Thanks, of course, again for the super from you guys over there at Paint Minis Live. I do appreciate it. And what do I got to do to get out of here? Oh, I boomered it all up. Somebody moved everything around. Oh, that was me. Good night. Take care.
Have you seen my owl bear? Here's to all the weirdos everywhere in the woods and in the air. Have you seen owl bear? Should I shave off all my hair? Bobs are all around. Some live in tunnels underground. Some are fat, some are rich, some are sleeping in a ditch. Can you ride a crooked horse without a saddle way off course? Naked as a toad? all the way to Smoky Joe's. Have you seen the little creep driving fast in his little green Jeep? He smells like fish and brandy, but his rotten teeth look dandy. Take me to the show, I don't care if fast or slow. From action flicks to dancing dicks, just take me to the show.